Marcus, you joining us from your cruise, or are you?
Yeah.
Yes, I
So this.
We are all set, sir.
Okay, all right. I'd like to call to order the January meeting of the Madison Board of Police Commission. I'd like to start out with our pledge to allegiance. Okay. To pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
visibly,
with
with
liberty and
Justice.
justice for all. Welcome. It's 2021, and this is going to be a better year. I guarantee it's going to be a better year. Is there? I know we have some other individuals who will acknowledge as we get to that portion of the meeting. But first step, is there a motion to accept the December minutes?
I move.
Second. Okay. Any discussion, edits, or changes to the minutes? Okay. All those in favor of minutes being accepted? Please say
Aye.
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 I know we have, is there any member of the public who signed in that would like to make some comments at this point?
Ms. Lopes has her hand up, sir.
Okay. Ms. Lopes, if you could just state your name and your address, please.
So I'm Maureen Lopes from 25 Old Farms Road.
Okay.
I just want to say I've been attending just about every month now for the last 6 or so months, and this is really educational. Thank you. Get to know a lot more about the town. Some guidance from you, though. I have questions coming out of the Police Transparency Accountability Act that just reading the language isn't very clear to me, particularly what may currently be in police training and whatever. And I'm wondering if that's something I can meet with someone on the force. And it's more of an educational, I'm not preparing to do testimony anywhere, just for my own knowledge. Who would be the best?
Maureen, is there anything in particular, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure. Chief.
I would think it starts, Chief, with understanding of a number of times I've seen the task force for that act talk about, well, that's Post has already put that training requirement in the requirement, or is the process of doing that. That's a whole document that I have no experience with. So it did raise for me that it'd be very helpful for me just to have a better understanding of what's already involved in that training.
All right, a lot of the, originally there were 41, is actually 43 items that were included in the initial Police Accountability Act.
Right.
And right now, it's probably about a dozen that are been resubmitted for change by the legislature themselves. So this is going to be a give and take and move along to this next session. Some of the areas of concern we had that are being reopened, and some are in for review, particularly in the area of mental health. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later in this meeting.
Okay.
But I'd be happy if you want to do we could put you together with a Zoom call with myself, Joe, and some of the training officers to get a better understanding. Most certainly welcome that.
Okay, that'd be great. And, it's sort of at your convenience. So I just get in touch with Christine to.
No, you just send an email. Just send an email to myself, or actually, I have your email.
Yeah, you do.
We'll just put it together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, but there's a lot of change going on.
Yeah.
I've had 3 meetings in the last week in regards to this, another one tomorrow. So this is, I use that term all the time. I'm probably wearing it out. We're dancing on a moving rug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that
Good.
hard work.
Good.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Is there any other public comments?
No one has their hand up at
Okay.
this time, sir.
Anything? Okay, Chief, we'll go into your report.
Okay, before we start, sir, I just want to take a moment to honor the passing of George Roach. George Roach is a lieutenant in the Madison Police Department who died unexpectedly this past week. The Madison Police Department had a strong presence at his graveside service, which was conducted a couple of days ago. George is one of the good guys. He was one of the early managers in the agency. His character was bigger than him. It was amazing how everybody loved the gentleman. And my sincere condolences to his family. And he was very, very close to some of the officers here, and I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sure he's looking down at Madison Police Department, very proud of where we are today.
Good. I saw I happened to be going by when I think it was a service was being held earlier or several days ago, but anyway, very appropriate remarks. Continue, please.
Okay, I guess we'll start with the financials. Ken, I guess I'm going to see you within the week on the police budget.
Got one. Looking forward to it.
So am I. We're essentially going in and I'll talk to that in a minute. Our current budget, we do have some gaps in the overtime lines in relations to the highway construction projects. We generally balance that out prior to the audit post July 1st. The reimbursements are paid by the vendor to the town, which goes to a separate fund that then move the money prior to closure of the date this fiscal year. Some of the other ones are generated because of the expansion of services due to COVID. Those are reimbursements. I believe the town has already received approximately $110,000, and those funds will be put back in the category. In addition to that, we did receive some notice that we'll be receiving our Department of Justice reimbursement for the money that we spent on police vests that came out of our operating budget of this year, and they'll be returned via the general fund and then back to our purchase services line. In addition to that, Kalia gave notice that due to the fact that the onsite was done by Zoom and what didn't encounter airplane tickets, hotels, and renting of cars, they're going to be reimbursing the town for approximately $4,300. Again, back to our general fund and then back to the police services line. I don't have any other discussion on the current budget this year, unless you folks would like to ask some questions.
I got a question. Ken, is the budget calendar going to be kind of in a normal timing?
It should be posted, and it is. We've got our regular meeting on Wednesday of next week. And then we begin, I think, Thursday of the following week. We've got half the town presenting, and then the balance is on Saturday, and then it goes back to Board of Selectmen, where they have their normal discussions with all of the various folks in town and the Board of Education as well. So we've got our calendar posted, I believe, to the website, and I don't believe there's any changes from the previous year, with the exception of most of our meetings being done via Zoom, as we have been doing this here with your meeting as well. So everything's going to be done, I think, pretty much via remote.
Yeah. Hey, did you have any? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The budget as presented, there was a discussion with the first select woman, and we were talking about our 31st position, which we still have yet to fill. And she was looking for some advice. And what I advised was, at this point, and we talked about overtime versus that additional officer. And of course, the concern is, particularly during COVID, is that the town's been successful with the collection rate in the 2021 fiscal year. But now as we go into 2022, there are businesses that close and other challenges the town may face. Of course, also the education. So I said to her, if I were sitting in your shoes, let's pass on the officer this year. The budget, for all intents and purposes, operational wise, is at zero. The increases are contractual to involving dispatch, involving animal control, and involving the police officers. So overall, the budget increase is those percentages. It's
Flat with the exception of your contractual obligations, right?
correct,
And,
correct.
and to be honest with you, I wish that everybody else in town and with the board would take that same approach, especially as you had so rightly pointed out that I am concerned for what this following year has to bring. You've got a lot of people that I think are still struggling coming off of 2020 into 2021. I don't think the economy is in a place where it's anywhere near where it was prior to COVID coming into play. And we've got a long way back. So I think what I'm trying to do and what the rest of the Board of Finance is trying to do is to try to be as conservative as possible and to give that message out to the folks of the town. So we appreciate everything that you have done on your end to try to minimize any increases associated with the budget. And it's very much appreciated. So thank you very much for doing that.
I thank you for that. And there are some things, I mean, we continue to, listen, we predicate our budget based on the needs. And if it's a wish, truly a wish, I'll specify that, during the various meetings. We had a discussion also to the CIP, and that were some of the items I asked that they take off the table. That had to do with the garage addition. I said, at this point, we need to take that off the table and put it out another 5 years. What they are going to do, though, is my understanding, it's in the building, and Billy McMinn's budget, is that they're going to proceed with the, basically the maintenance, the redo of the locker rooms, men and women, because let's face it, there's 20 plus years, and if you move those lockers, you're going to find mold.
Where is that, Chief? Which lockers you talking about?
Men and women, officers,
Oh,
the locker room.
okay.
So the bathrooms, the showers, they need to be, it's 20 plus years. They've done a great job with maintenance, but it needs to be done. So that is something that's going to be addressed. Also, some security initiatives in the building also have to be replaced or upgraded. So it's minimal in the bigger picture, but those are going to continue with, and that's actually out of buildings.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. As I mentioned, we're just trying to see, as you had said, right? Needs are what's important and what we need to focus on. The wishes and the nice to haves, I think we should all wait one more year before we start diving into that stuff.
I understand that, but Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear back from some of the commissioners how they feel if they feel this is the proper step I'm taking.
Well, I think deferring the officer absolutely makes sense for this year. I mean, I think Ken's right. I think, I think this economy is going to get better, but it's not going to be a V-shaped curve. I think it's going to be months and months before certain industries start to come back, and it's reflected in employment. And I'm no wizard. I'm just kind of repeating what some, I think, pretty realistic people are saying who look at this a lot more in depth than I do. I think there are some things that, that we've talked about as a commission, as an agency, that I just hope if they need to be deferred, it's with the understanding that there is a justification for it, but this is not the particular time period to ask. For example, we've talked for several years about the need to expand the video cameras for downtown, the Main Street and Madison, for both, public safety and the fact that it is just moving to a more contemporary way that law enforcement can provide a presence through technology. The recent, bank robbery at Stop and Shop, obviously the availability of a little more sophisticated downtown video technology might have been helpful. And it's not just for that situation, it's for traffic control, it's for identifying other events that particularly that the police department needs to be aware of. So that is something that we deferred from last year. It's in a longer term capital plan that we're trying to develop for the police department. I think the chief has done a terrific job with some of the vehicle management on a multi-year basis, but there are other things like that are not just nice to have. I mean, it's, the radio upgrades that we've done over the last 5 years are absolutely paying dividends and will continue to pay dividends in terms of public safety and communication. And it's been recognized, if you're going to have an effective police department, you damn well better, have a radio system that supports it. So, there are some things like that, Ken, that I hope we can, submit. And if it just doesn't make sense, absolutely, have that understanding and relationship that, this is going to be deferred a year, but it's simply, we're never going to ask for something simply because the other kids have it and we want one too. We've been pretty prudent as an agency in terms of our request, both on the operating side and the capital side. So, there may be just a stakeholder we put in place at some point this year that says, we understand that we need to tighten our belt. We will do it, as the chief is doing it with a particular position. But we hope, particularly, that's why we welcomed you back as the liaison with the finance committee. We hope there's some people there that have a memory, when this subject comes up, whether it's 12 months from now or 18 months from now. So
I'm pretty, as everybody knows, I'm fairly vocal, and I try to do my best of reminding folks of the sacrifices that different people do make over the course of time. And as you had mentioned, if you look back over history, I do think that the process is methodical and well thought out, and a very conservative approach. So I appreciate your commentary, and I think that it's well said.
Good.
If we have some items that we've deferred in the past, would it make some sense so that we have some logic behind any of these decisions, in that we make a list of what the projects are and the proposed expenditures for them? If we've had to defer the security cameras and some of the implementation of what we're looking for downtown, considering what this possible year might look like, I would certainly think that that could maintain itself as some kind of a priority. The chief spoke to what's going on within the department for locker rooms and whatever, considering that, this is where the officers come and go every single day, and get ready to go out and serve the community. If that's a reasonable number, then I think that we all ought to be taking a look at things that enhance what people are doing on the street when they do their job.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Tom. I appreciate it, Ed and Ken and others. Just bear in mind that we have, when our selection of officers on the HR side, because of benefits, we've saved the town over 10 years certain now. If you add it up each year, which comes anywhere from $187,000 to $214,000 annually in benefits. We've done that 10 years certain now. That's about $2 million plus. So if you were to do a comparative analysis over the cost of the budget in 2010 versus the cost of the budget now, we've done very well by the town. Also, additionally, is there is revenue that is going to be coming, right? My understanding is that Verizon is going to present to the town a contract to put antennas on the Arts Barn Tower. We've done the research. They've showed up. They brought their engineers. Last email I received was right before New Year's. Said they'll send it to me soon to bring it to the Board of Selectmen and obviously the other boards. But I mean, you're talking per tower panel, an average income of $24,000 per year, and they're looking for 20, 30, 40-year certain contracts. That adds up. We know that from the tower at Route 79. That's $250,000 back to the town. Something like that could generate a public safety fund. As these increase, you end up with 3 or 4 customers on a tower. You're talking $100,000+ for so many years. I mean, that's the replacement fund, or for projects such as cameras or other things.
Well, we should talk about that during the budget discussion.
Yeah, it's evolving. We'll get there. But I mean, I promised before, I always want to have the relationship that we started from day one and continue that with the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, all the boards. And when I come to something we really needed, that it's a need. That's all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The other thing, a couple meetings ago, I know there was some talk about the police department taking over some of the signage and the management of the signage from the town. Do you remember we had that conversation?
We did, and we can get it done. I don't want to use the term, and it's not a criticism. We get it done
No,
quickly. Somebody comes in, people agonize when they make a request to this board for something, and it doesn't get done. And they end up going and
Did you have any
other people
additional
come in,
dialogue
come and
with
go.
Peggy over that, Chief?
What's that?
Did you have any additional dialogue with Peggy about that? Because I know
Well, I did, but I think
teed up
that-
the last meeting we had, that there might be a benefit to making some adjustment there.
We've done that, and it comes out of my budget, so I push off something that Tom Cartledge alluded to for the next year, and then I push it off for the next year. But I'm just trying to make it so that obviously we address people's concerns, what we could afford to do and physically do or do by law. And while I did bring it up, I think that John Inaka would like it to stay in his budget. That's fine, except that when we vote on something, the Board of Police Commissioners, and they establish that this is a local traffic authority, they'd like it done. We need to move forward.
Okay.
You know, it's, if you were to quiz all the communities you could possibly think of, how they feel about government, always comes down to, I call it the pothole. Comes down to something small that bothers them that they really would like attention to. They want closure. So we're very good at bringing closure to people's requests for safety, and particularly in signs. You know, sometimes we don't have the answer they want, but we address it, look into it, and come back very quickly.
Right. Well, I think as part of, being the liaison here, knowing that was a top of a conversation at one of the meetings, it might make sense for me to raise that with Peggy at the right moment. And if there is X amount of dollars associated with the budget, with John's budget, maybe we do some type of internal transfer for whatever the dollars are, so it doesn't come out of your budget, but it's just kind of like an input into the budget. So
We're just trying to help. We're trying to help be good partners with the other. We're not trying to. It's not criticism. I'm just trying to help Johnny out, because Johnny's got a lot to do. Johnny Inaka, his plate is full. And if we can help him, we're happy to do it.
So if you think that's something that makes sense, I'd be happy to do that.
All right.
Just one moment on that same subject, Ken. Since the chief has started this, we've had a traffic log that goes back with all my time on the commission. And in the short time that the department has taken on some of these tasks, as I think I've mentioned in the past, every time we get a report or complaint or a letter from a citizen, I'll reach out to them via the phone or via an email, usually within a couple of days of me getting a heads up. And we have been able to, with the chief's help, solve some of these issues right away, which takes a tremendous burden off John, who's overworked with his crew. But the other thing it does, we've gotten thank you notes from residents of the town that said, not only did you address the problem, but you fixed it. So we've gotten an awful lot of goodwill for a very little bit of money in a very short time.
It makes sense to me.
Okay, good. Because your support would be very helpful.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I have on the budget, as far as the new budget, basically outside of contractual, it's zero. I had a great conversation, as I said, with Peg, and we're going to hold off on an officer and move forward.
And I'd like to jump in here if I could. I want to echo Ken's observation that the town's budget is under exceptional pressure this year. At the same time, the selectmen are all too aware that public safety is very much on the public's mind this year. And I would encourage this department, if there are any items that really have a direct impact on the public's perception of their safety, that those items should be brought forward for discussion. This is not simply a budget which is going to be formulated around how much we can save. This is a budget that has to meet the wishes of the people of this town in terms of what they want from town government. So while I haven't heard the chief identify anything that he's leaving off his wish list, I wanted to encourage the commissioners to not be shy about advocating for what for what the commissioners feel they need.
Well, again,
I think Need is right, Ed.
Well, this has not been a particularly shy group, and I think there's been a prudence that we want to maintain our credibility. But I think if there is a need and it is going to have an impact on public safety, we need to make the request. That's our responsibility, and we take it seriously. We also have some people here who, part of their real life is dealing with budgets and expenses and how do you manage and defer. And so we'll get through it. I mean, I think we've had a good relationship both with the selectmen and particularly with the Board of Finance. So, we'll make our assessment, have some internal discussions at the commission level, and then prioritize, our requests going to the Board of Finance, particularly for next year's budget. So we're ready to do that. Okay, Chief, so anything else, finance?
I think that finishes finance, unless somebody has another question. We can move on to activity statistics.
Great.
I just want to add, because I know you see the other faces. This is basically the team of officers that I work with to run this agency, and I asked that they be present on this meeting because I'm going to have them participate, and any work that they've done, I'm going to have them speak to it. Instead of you listening to me, I'd rather we'll call this part of the development. We also are joined by members of the union, our lead instructor, excuse me. Our lead instructor is also the president of the union now. Congratulations, Rob Strickland. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Okay, so I want to go on to activity. This is our 90-day or second quarter update. Did you folks get the handouts from Christy Hodge?
For
No, I haven't
activities?
seen one.
No, they weren't included in the packet.
Right, I'm going to give you the numbers. I'm going to talk to a couple of the incidents, if I may. For October through December 31st, 2020, we had approximately 448 alarms, false alarms. Of those, 189 were 9/11 hangups, 155 burglar alarms, fire alarms, 67, wires down, 17, medical, and other 20. Suspicious vehicles, 45 called in. Suspicious persons, 35. Folks, you're not bothering us when you call the police. That's what you're supposed to do. When you see something suspicious, call us. You're not bothering us. That's why we're here. Animal nuisance complaints. Everybody's home because of COVID. They're out walking their dogs. So we had approximately 152 with one bite. Nothing serious. Juvenile, we've had 5 missing adults, under 18, over 16. Returned uneventful. Juvenile complaints, approximately 9. Most of that was related to alcohol and kids hanging around. We've had a juvenile referral on alcohol. Fingerprint request, 138. That's a little bit high, I think, in lieu of the election and people that wish to purchase a firearm. Most of those were for weapons. First responder call, medical assist, 583 in 90 days. Assist to persons, 147. Assist to other agencies, 41. We also had approximately 24 involuntary committals. I keep saying that I know the effects and the virus of COVID, but the secondary to it is the psychological effects of COVID at people home, people out of work, people trying to struggle to stay in their home or feed their family. That most certainly goes to our discussion on the budget. We had approximately 87 motor vehicle accidents with injury 19, property damage 40, private property 18, 7 car versus deer. Motor vehicle enforcements, they're down. Tom, I remember we had this discussion last month or the month before. They're down, but they're also down throughout the country. That's a discussion, if you wish, we could talk about. 41 motor vehicle arrests, 21 speeding, 1 DWI, approximately 30 verbal written warnings. Total calls for service in the 90-day period, approximately 2137. Daily, that would transpire to 23. Anyone have any discussions they'd like to have on activity?
Yeah, why don't we have this activity report in our file?
What's that?
why don't we have the activity report in the agenda material we received?
Well, that was compiled the last 2 days, and I left it for Christy Hodge.
Okay. Okay, I know there's been some with the virus, we've scrambled around, but
Christy Hodge is working from home.
okay.
Oh.
Okay.
If you wish, after the meeting, we'll send them out to you. All right,
Thank
it's
you.
essentially. Any questions?
Chief, yeah, because we don't have the paperwork in front of us, is that involuntary committal number, is that the same or higher than past quarters?
We've seen an increase in some of our. If you were to read into the criminal response, criminal investigations, approximately 283. We have less in custody arrests because we're requested by the state's attorney's office and the courts not to hold people. So we've only had about 8. We'll call them temporary holds. We put handcuffs on somebody, we're seizing them. That's in custody. So we have approximately 18 of those. Involuntary committals are up. Normally we'll average 3 to 5, sometimes more, depending. Holidays, usually around Christmas, we'll see it. Thanksgiving, we'll see an increase. People that are alone. We talked about this before. We have people that don't like the effects of their medication. Unfortunately, we don't have the medical treatment that we've had in the past with people in crisis. This is not only a learning curve for police, but also for all of society dealing with folks that are and having a psychotic episode. So we've seen an increase. We've also seen a lot of increase related to family matters, unemployment, people out of work, people trying to hold on to their homes or feed their family. So I could only imagine, they claim it is, divorce rates up.
Okay. Any other questions? Moving to training?
Jeremy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sergeant York, for those who don't know me. Just a quick synopsis about training from December. I noticed I was missing a column in my Excel spreadsheet. So the form that you have says 152. We actually participated in 216 hours of training in the month of December, the Madison Police Department. With everything with COVID, training kind of grinded to a halt mid to late 2020. But law enforcement has been able to pick up training via Zoom. So you will notice that our training in human trafficking and the use and force summit was conducted via Zoom. So we were able to get training credits for our officers. So one of the things that every officer participated in this month was in human trafficking. And we've been using the Dago Learning Center for that. So every officer completed that training and received 2 hours in training. And human trafficking is one of the new mandated requirements that the state of Connecticut and Post has mandated that every officer receives annually. So we will be doing that every year, and we'll be continuing, to follow up trainings with the Dago Learning Center. On top of that, we had 7 officers renew their emergency medical responders, and 2 officers renew their EMT certifications. And once again, we were able to do that via the internet, and where normally that used to be an in-person class. So, we're picking up the online training so we could get all of our mandated requirements. And lastly, it was just the 2-day mandatory for our South Central Regional SWAT team and for our canine handlers as well.
Can I ask, what's your sense, since we certainly have shifted our focus to kind of the virtual classroom here. What's your sense of the effectiveness of those training classes? I'm asking to the extent that, do you think, going forward that there might be a move towards saying, look, we can do this training almost as effectively, and we don't have people driving an hour and a half to get to Hartford or wherever else, or an hour to back and forth to do training. What's your sense?
No, I feel the effectiveness is still there. These trainings that we have, they are put together very well. They have videos, the instruction has the same instructors that we would do in person are participating in these online trainings. Just as a budget standpoint, it's definitely going to save law enforcement budget-wise because we're not pulling officers out, paying them overtime, travel costs, etc. So they're able to do these 2-hour trainings, within their scheduled work shifts. And I don't think anyone has said that they've noticed the training has, reduced with these, online training requirements. So I think with this is definitely going to be the future, even when this whole coronavirus is past us. I think this is probably going to be the future of law enforcement training.
Great. We do have, where we normally would be meeting this evening, I know that's a multi-purpose room, but also if there are things that we need to do in that training room to make it more effective, whether it's where we wire technology or other screens, a la our earlier conversation, we should think about doing that because, my sense is, kind of where you've landed is saying, you know what? I think there's a lot of businesses that they're not going to be going into the offices as much. They are going to be working from home, and training, particularly, kind of classroom oriented training. I think the rubber band isn't going to snap all the way back. And to your point, I think we can say, you know what, this is a very effective way to do some training. And, if who knows, at some point I might say, I want to take this class, but I'm not right at the station. But I still want to take the class. So anyway, appreciate your assessment.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Rob, while you're on the call, Rob Strickland, could you just talk to very briefly the successes and where we are currently with the use of force, less lethal, and of course firearms. Hate to put you on the spot, buddy, but I know you can do it.
Thank you, Chief. I want to say first and foremost, thank you to the commission for inviting and having me here. Thank you. Well, we just like Sergeant York just said, a lot of us attended the Dago Use of Force seminar, which was incredibly outstanding. I do like the online distance learning philosophy. We currently, not too long ago, had a basic qualification that took place out on the Clinton shooting range. That went very well. And from my understanding, was talking with and coordinating with Sergeant Roy as well as Sergeant York, is that we have training coming up for firearms in the near future, along with use of force training in the classroom, and then baton training, handcuffing, and so forth in the close future.
Thanks, Rob. Richie, while you're on, if I may, Richie and Doug Harkins, Sergeant Harkins, just give us an update on patrol. See where we're on the second part of traffic.
Yeah, okay. Chief, this is Lieutenant Perrin, and I just lost video on my phone, so I apologize. But our patrol officers at the moment are all healthy. We are moving a few around. Officer Lazaroff is going into New Haven, special assignment. He'll be working on a federal task force relating to the Hamburg homicide. Officer Manware has been pulled from the school, and Officer Rob O'Neill is going to be taking that position. He's a great addition for the school, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. We lost one patrol officer just recently to a retirement, and I think we anticipate a second maybe retiring soon. So we had to move some people around, making it more of a minimum patrol. CID continues to investigate the People's Bank robbery that occurred over at the Stop and Shop on Saturday, the 9th. They investigating potential leads on that, and we're hoping for some luck, some skill, and we're hoping to get somebody into custody with that soon. So,
Thank you, Richie.
Doug, I think Doug has some things in reference to patrol too. So,
Sergeant Harkins?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Sergeant Harkins. Just a few things. The new cars that we received, the Tahoes, they're running very well. They got all their computers are all up to date. The lights have been fixed, so the officers have them on patrol. Those 4 cars are being used, and they're working out well. Also, a couple things that Lieutenant Parent touched on. We are down an officer, resigned this week, and there may be another one that might be retiring relatively soon. We haven't had a reason to order in too many officers to work. We've had a lot of volunteers. If there's been any vacancies, if we needed extra officers, so that's staffing has not been a problem. We've been fine there. Our SWAT and K9, they're training as usual. As Lieutenant Perrin mentioned, Officer Lazaroff is going to the task force to work on the Hamburg murder. And let's see, the change in the SRO, Officer O'Neill is now assigned to Hand, Polson, and Jeffrey. We've had a busy month. I mean, just a quick touch on since the new year. We've had 8 arrests. We've had 4 DUIs, 2 domestics, and 1 forgery. One person out of that group was arrested twice. One for threatening and interfering with officers, and the other one was for domestic. So we've had we've had a busy start to the new year as far as calls, but all is well. Other than that, thank you.
Chief, excuse me, Chief, could you remind me, what is the cost to outfit a new car when you talk about the computer, the light package, everything? Just briefly.
Well, the base car is anywhere between 36, 38. By the time you're done outfitting it with equipment, some that you can move from car to car. We're at the end of the cycle, so new equipment went into these current phase 1 of the next generation, and it comes out to about 52 to 55,000 per car.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a quick question about the human trafficking training, and if I heard about an incident this week in terms of cyber, I don't want to say assaults or whatever, but with young kids in the schools here, particularly in one of my children's grades. And I wanted to know what if any, are we doing to kind of educate and train some of the teachers and parents, especially because a lot of it's being done through video when they're home quarantining. What can we do? Can you guys, work with the school board or something to kind of help the teachers and parents kind of cope with some of these things? It was a huge incident that happened this week. I heard that the FBI was involved. They didn't understand, why they were involved versus, why maybe, Madison PD. It was just, there was a lot going on this week, and I wanted to see if you had any information on that.
I talked to the superintendent almost every day in the last probably 6 business days. Nobody mentioned anything about the FBI or any investigation at the school. So this would be news to me, but we're all part of the cyber task force with the Secret Service, which handles that, and the cyber crime. We work on that. We have the equipment here in this building that the Secret Service provided for us at an extensive cost. We have about 9 towns that participate within the cyber crime, including the state police. The FBI has a financial crime unit that works with that. This may be something they did not make us aware of.
So this was it was a 5th grade class, a class that was quarantined, and it was a student. So I don't know how it's handled, but it would be, I think, great to somehow, with the training that you guys are getting about human trafficking, like these kids are groomed on certain social media platforms, and if we could have some sort of conversation with, utilizing, a couple officers and teachers, I think it would be helpful.
how did you come to know about this? You were called by the school on this?
We did get a letter and email, but it's parents.
Well, I can't, unfortunately, I can't go by Facebook or other social platforms.
No,
I have to go by intelligence and that's been
Yeah,
verified.
well,
So
I do
I'm
know-
asking a question. How do you know what you know? Because I'll be on this tomorrow.
I got an email from one of the teachers at Brown. And it's interesting because my kids, I actually have two of my kids that I pulled from the school system, but I still get the email. And that's how I found out about the incident and then contacted and found out more.
Okay, we'll make the inquiry tomorrow and find out what's going on. Okay, I'll get back to you on that one. All right. What I want to add, if I may, Mr. Chairman, to some of the discussion. What we've done is these are all. State's Attorney Nowak is handling the task force assigned. There's a series of crimes that are in what they call the cold case that then go to a task force. One of them is the Jobin homicide in New Haven. The other is the Madison, the Hamburg homicide here in Madison. So one of our officers is working with the task force that's handling it and the state's attorney who's been assigned to it. So they're working a full press on it. The case is active. I want to say it again, the case is active. In regards to the FOIA request, we're challenging the outcome of the FOIA Commission, Freedom of Information. We filed an appeal the day before Christmas seeking an injunction to it and be heard in the Superior Court. That will probably happen sometime later in the spring. We have complied with the order as requested by FOIA, but they're seeking other evidence we are not going to release, and I've been instructed by the state's attorney we are not going to release. It is part of the investigation, is paramount to the investigation. That's what I could say on that.
Okay, good. Any questions? Good.
Community?
Think we're community calendar?
I have what we know, and this is tentative. My assumption is that the Exchange Club has signed a contract in regards to the fireworks. So what the fireworks is going to be held on, I believe they're looking for the 2nd of Friday night, with a rain date of the 5th. Also, they're considering that the concert will be held on that Saturday night. It's not etched in stone yet. And of course, the parade on that Sunday, that's not etched in stone yet. What we do know is that the fireworks has made application with Atlas for July 2nd. And I believe that paper will be forthcoming to myself and the fire marshal.
Boy,
Other than that, we don't have any other events. Touch a Truck, I know they'd like to do that relatively soon. I don't see that happening because of COVID.
That sounds pretty normal. Fireworks and a parade. Wow. Be exciting to have that happen. Okay. That's it. And next item, anything else on community?
That's all I have. Joe, is there anything out there that wishful thinking, races? Yeah.
Nobody's even brought anything up. I mean, I would expect to hear from the Legion about Memorial Day anytime soon, but I think based on the circumstances as they are, I wouldn't anticipate there being a parade in May. But we'll see when the applications come in.
Yeah, okay. Hope springs eternal. Regional status.
Everybody in the department been vaccinated?
I'm sorry, what was that, Tom?
Has the department, the officers all been vaccinated with COVID?
I was going to talk to that on COVID.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Regional, we still meet with all our regional partners. Some of that has been with the, we're part of the East River, the Health District. Madison is with Branford and Guilford, and North Branford. We were trying to, we worked together to schedule the 1As and moving on to 1Bs for the vaccine program. That's moving right along. As far as radio dispatch or other, I understand that Clinton is looking to improve and do some rebuilding in their communication center. I know some discussion will come as to whether or not they talk about the regional approach. I think they need to figure out what they'd like to do, and then if the discussion starts, it starts. Other than that, we train together, but there is no new information on shared services.
Okay. Thanks. Correspondence?
I have a lot, but most of it is thanking folks for their contribution to the food and toy bank for this year's holiday season. I sent out approximately 38 letters.
Okay. Okay. I think I shared with the commissioners just within the last day or so a request that we received from Ginny Rath from the Madison Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, dealing with a request to consider some issues relating to Middle Beach Road. We will log that into our traffic report. It is an issue that we have dealt with almost on an annual basis. So there are really reservations from any number of town agencies about dealing with the making Middle Beach Road one way. We'll log it in. I certainly wouldn't commit to a study since we've done, probably 3 in the last 5 or 6 years. But anyway, we will log it in and develop a response to Ginny and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. So there's some feedback, and we can close the loop on the communication side of this.
And in the interest of full disclosure on that, we've had the Middle Beach issue come up a number of times, and it has been investigated and looked at with all the departments, the fire service, rescue, ambulance, and nobody has anything positive to say about it. It's all negative. It's just going to create chaos. Rather than make this prolonged, why don't we address the fact that the studies have been done and that Middle Beach Road is not going to be one way?
I absolutely concur, Tom, but we need to communicate back formally to them.
I'm not suggesting we don't answer. I'm just
Right.
suggesting that we don't. There's a lot of things that take a lot more time than this.
I agree. I mean,
Okay.
given the time we've put into discussing it with this committee, I think unless somebody's ready to move the shoreline, there is not an immediate solution given the risks and some of the real concerns from emergency, fire, and as well as police. So I agree with you, but that we will circle back and let them know the rationale for why this is going to be set aside again.
Chief, do you want to, you and I just talk for a minute, and you can put one of your great letters together and we can put this to rest?
We could, absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. But I still like to reach out to some of the parties
Absolutely.
involved.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I have a couple items, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Okay, in regards to the request for diversity crosswalk, that's been referred to the Board of Selectmen, which are going to meet. I believe that Cindy Bruckheimer, who brought it to our attention and request that she's going to have a discussion with the Board of Selectmen in regards to it, if she hasn't had it already. I know that she was, I had her put on the agenda. Al, did that happen yet? Okay, so that's going to bring closure to this issue. We approve the use of a crosswalk. We don't approve, that would be the selectmen giving permission to take an existing crosswalk and change the dynamics of it, as long as it conforms with the requirements of the state traffic authority. Additionally to that, going to Neck Road, they're going to be marking Neck Road soon. They were looking for a window of good weather. That part of that was today, tomorrow before the rain possibly. You'll start seeing signs like this appearing on the bike routes. You'll see some signs encouraging please give courtesies to walkers, bicyclists, people walking their dogs. You'll see the stop sign improvements we talked about last meeting going up at the intersection behind the Schoolhouse Deli and of course, the reduction in speed signs. They were tied up doing some other town work and the project over on Bradley Road, and that's been finished. And I talked to the engineer and the company, and they're going to assure me that they would have it done within 2 weeks, unless
Chief,
weather.
excuse me, when all of that is done on Neck Road, would it be possible to have a patrol car down there for a couple of days when the weather is a little bit nicer to remind people that there's a lot of new signage out there and that this is working in their interest?
That's a standard plan we do. We also take, although there'll be a stop bar present, the sign will cover up so people get used to the sign for the first 30, 40 days
Good, thank you.
before we unveil it. It's the same that we did at Bradley and Wall, and other areas. Some other traffic improvements that are going to be coming our way is that they're going to be, you might recall if you go north on Route 79 that they grind the center line and they grind the line that divides the shoulder area, and they mark a reflective. But kind of, if you ride on it, you'll hear that hum on your tires. I think we've all somewhat done that. So that enhancement's going to, that enhancement's going to occur very soon with Department of Transportation. There's two projects, Route 79, Horse Pond Road, and Route 1. So that's a great safety feature, particularly people driving at night. If there isn't a lot of street lights, it lights up when the car lights hit it, particularly the new lights in cars.
Great.
So that's a welcome. The only other thing I have open, Tom, is I still haven't heard back from Burgess Moses in regards to the private roads. I'm still awaiting that decision. We asked that they write a decision in regards to people that were walking on private roads off of Neck Road, and there was some not positive interaction with some of the landowners.
Okay,
I'll tell you what, I'm Chief, and Tom, I'm gonna be talking to the town council, I know in the next day or so. I will raise it with him directly.
Okay, it's Attorney Belmonte who's in the firm. He was supposed to get back to us, and I really want to bring closure to those folks, and it's been like 4 months now.
Okay.
All right.
I said, thanks.
And the only other one that remains is that the DOT is, as we talked last, is given approval for a crosswalk in the area of Route 1 by West Wharf. I asked that they come down and we do a site inspection, so to speak, because it's going to require additional flashing lights as you enter the curve, as you come out of downtown. If somebody were to hit a crosswalk, that they're crossing, it's a flashing device, the strobe that alerts. They can't just arbitrarily put that there. Although I appreciate they're saying we have the option if we'd like to, but it's going to require a little bit more study and our intention on this.
All right. That's an area where those vehicles are moving pretty good. Coming
It
from,
is.
Yeah.
But that also helps us as we, if they ever progress with the walkway trail around downtown. I know that DOT had approved that in a discussion I had with Virginia Ref. She's still on the call. Is it okay if I have Ginny to join us?
Sure.
Okay. So the downtown, the original design put it as it progressed from Route 1 going coming from Clinton as you progress past Hammonasset, that you go up Scotland, you make a left on Railroad, you continue up Bradley, then you join back to Route 1 as you clear the park. And I believe the money at one time was approved for that. But this would work in conjunction with that, particularly if we're going to put bikeway signs. The next area I'm looking to do that is if in conjunction with the Madison Country Club is going to be putting a path on their property all the ways along West Wharf. And I believe they're partnering with the town on that. So that would work in conjunction to that as an extension of somewhat of a bike path, pedestrian trail, which is safe. So I just think we have to, another Jack term, measure twice, cut once.
Sounds good.
Good. Okay.
All right. Virginia, you heard what I talked about with in regards to Neck Road?
Yes.
Okay, was I accurate in the description of the DOT approval for the Greenway?
The Greenway, the Greenway grant that we haven't spent yet which the town controls,
Right.
is for, it has to generally lead from where the Greenway now ends to Guilford. So that going down, for example, going down past the golf course is not probably going to be approved, although they're getting so sick of us that they might approve anything just to get it spent and off their books. But the idea of going up around Railroad Avenue is that is part of the DOT. That is part of the design study for the trail.
Okay. All right. Well, we're trying to move forward on this, and I think at some point I just have to. I'm trying to round up everybody together on the same page for a meeting, a Zoom meeting, which should be very informal. But
Okay.
I need Dave and I need you as part of this. And not a large group, just so we could talk about some direction. I would love to get this done actually before I leave. It'd be great. And I think would serve the citizens of Madison very well, and other towns that, particularly the bicyclists.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'll try to be available anytime.
All righty. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia.
Good, thank you. New business. Chief, I know you covered some of this, but there are pieces of this that we left off. I know we haven't talked about. We did touch upon one retirement, and I guess we've got to accept the resignation of Officer Dolce. Here, am I correct?
Yes, I need a motion for you folks. I have acknowledged his request. I need you folks to approve his request.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept Officer Dolce's resignation? Okay. Let me make a motion to accept Officer Dolce's resignation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any, I guess this is a formality. All those in favor of letting Mr. Officer Dolce resign, please say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, so we have one
So Ed,
vacancy.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Ed, point of question. So this
Yeah.
is my first resignation since I've been on the police commission. So this
It
is just
wasn't
a,
because of you, Ann.
oh, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
So relieved.
Good.
So this is just a formality.
Yes.
Okay. And so are we allowed to know where he's going, or is it for another position, another agency, or
Chief?
are we not allowed
Sure.
to know that?
No, I believe he's going to stay home with his children.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just curious. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Chief, COVID updates.
Okay. We had approximately 22 officers that received the vaccine. Some received it through Yale, some received it through as I spoke earlier, to the East River Health District. Right now I'm awaiting, I have 2 officers that still have to be done. One was out with a COVID scare within his own family, was put in quarantine. The second officer missed his appointment, and that's been rescheduling them along with the dispatchers to be vaccinated in the second go round of the 1As. So, and those that had received the vaccine are now scheduled 26 to 30 days out to receive their second injection. Those that did it through Yale, or I believe Middlesex, or on the Yale affiliates in New London or Norwich, they've already been scheduled. Those that received it with East River Health District, that's been scheduled for a week, probably towards the second, third week of February.
Okay, good.
We had 6 people that asked not to take the vaccine.
Does that include the dispatch employees as well? Or is that?
Well, they're scheduled for
Okay.
the initial. And then at that point, it will work its way to the 1B, seniors, others, teachers, those in healthcare, additional optometrists, dentistry, things to that effect.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other public safety protocols liaison with the state?
Tomorrow I have another meeting with the task force on police accountability. That's generally every Friday at 1 o'clock. I also have on the 19th, I have myself and the director are meeting with the Attorney General in a Zoom call and his executive staff. Some discussions on laws. They asked that I meet with them. Also on the 21st, Connecticut Bar, their task force on police accountability asked that I meet with them. So I got a busy going into February, besides budget deals.
It sounds like a busy few weeks coming up for you. But look as we've talked offline here, I think it's very helpful to have you participating in some of these discussions and committees. I think you represent not just a Madison community, but certainly given the experience, it's just helpful to have someone with both the state police and a local police chief experience as they sort through these bills. So, you are not just representing Madison. I know you're, figuratively representing a lot of police officers and police chiefs as they sort this through. So we appreciate your effort in that regard.
Thank you, sir. It's not an easy task. It's very hard to convince people. People don't like change. And I try to convince people that, listen, the policies of the 60s, 70s, the policies of the 70s and 80s, they're not working anymore. And things have changed. And where we are today in the year 21, I think what drove it way back when, the insurance industry, lobbyists, and where we are today, it's very difficult. So it's a slow process trying to get people on board. You're trying to achieve a consensus, but I won't give up. We'll keep going.
Good. Okay. Correspondence, is there any? I didn't see any in the packet, so beyond Jenny Rath's email that I shared. So we'll go to commissioner comments. Tom?
Nothing here.
Okay. Ann?
I have no comments today.
Okay. Christine?
No further.
Good. And I'm good as well. Look, I want to ask my fellow commissioners to have some forbearance. We need to go into executive session at this point. I'll try to keep it brief. The chief is going to join us just for the early part of it, but I promise I'll try to move us through the executive session items nimbly, as they say. So can I entertain a motion for us to adjourn our regular meeting and go into executive session?
I will entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting and go into executive session.
Good. Good. All those in favor? All right.
Aye.
All right. So
All right,
we will,
guys, take care.
officers, Officer York, Harkins, Strickland, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. It's helpful to hear directly from the individuals who are, at the front of the room and doing a lot of this heavy lifting for us. Thank you very much. Ken, good to see you again. Just love that. It's a great hat, Ken. I want to see that hat every time. Thank you. So,
everybody, it was better than the